viewers, and welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. So I got this old Ford Chevy, it's half-ton, money lights on, if you can believe that. Apparently it's been at another shop for a while. They've shotgunned some parts at it. Sounds like it's possibly an EVAP code, because he told me they changed a valve back of the tank and then they changed a valve on the engine, so I assume vent solenoid, purge solenoid probably. Don't know what the code is yet. We'll grab the scan tool, see what's going on, and see if we can't get this guy back on the road. Alright, so we will use the Evolve. The low fuel light is on. GM, you don't know if that's because it's broke or if it's just out of gas. Could be either one. I believe this is the WTs. You got a rubber floor and a stick shift. Come on, focus, baby. There we go. We'll go right into PCM. Use a manual. I imagine it's going to be EVAP codes. These GMs are about as simple as they get. So I can't imagine what they've overlooked. You can almost guess and change a couple parts and get it right. So we'll read the codes here. So there's not much of these systems. Purge solenoid, vent solenoid. Of course, can't be any leaks. Your fuel tank pressure sensor is what monitors it. Come on, little guy. It's cold this morning, so you're running a little slow, I think. 446A Vent System Performance, huh? Alright, well, let's just, before we get too excited, let's just look at some data stream that pertains to the EVAP system. Get you guys enhanced there. Oh, look at that, enhanced EVAP data. Sometimes I don't like how they break up the groups, but a lot of times you can select all, then you go through and pick your own custom data group. Alright, let's see. 2 gallons remaining. So we'll just pick some of our EVAP data that we want. Their purge, we don't care about fuel trims or anything. Fuel tank pressure. It says it has pressure on the tank right now. That's interesting. Come on. Fuel tank rear. Oh, look at that. There's a problem, lady. So your fuel tank pressure sensor on these Chevys is usually about 1.4 to 1.6 volts. It says it's venting. Alright, well, we just want to view the ones we've selected. Make some observations here before we get too hog wild. So it says that we have 6 inches of pressure, so theoretically if we go take the cap off it should whoosh. There's only 2 gallons left in the tank. It says our vent solenoid is commanded open. I guess before we leave the driver's seat here, we'll gather as much as we can. We'll go do special functions. We'll pull a little vacuum on the tank, see if let's see, we'll do a purge and seal. See if our pressure sensor is working correctly. Perhaps it is plugged and it does have a lot of pressure on it right now. So we're going to select some data items to look at. We'll just look at vent solenoid command, purge, and then tank pressure. I don't know if we've done videos on that. I think we have done videos on this. So let's see, we want purge, vent, pressure sensor. That's good enough. I think it displays 4. Alright, so it is live data. We're venting, 0% purge. Let me fire this pig up. Baby, that sounds like she's a big V6. So our data's running live, so we'll open the purge here. It sealed the vent for us. Come on. There we go. Oh, she just ran a little behind. 50% purge. And nothing's happening here. Well, we got the old purge solenoid wide open. And fuel tank pressure sensor is not moving whatsoever. Oh, damn Chevys. Stupid Chevys and their stupid keys. Come on. Well, give me 10 minutes here to get the key back on. Hey, there we go. Alright, keys on. Alright, so we're just going to back out of this. We'll go to regular data now that we know. So maybe, you know, perhaps the purge solenoid isn't working and it's not pulling the tank into a vacuum. But what we'll do is we'll go back into the fuel tank pressure data. We'll go out and crack the gas cap loose on it. I think that would be the smartest thing to do. If not, we are going to focus our efforts on that fuel tank pressure sensor. I don't know how the heck this could go to a shop and they could miss something like that. We're what, 3 minutes into it? So we want fuel tank pressure. I like to sort them by alphabets. A lot easier. Because I know my ABCs. Fuel tank pressure. And then fuel tank pressure. And then, oops. Dang it all. You only selected. There we go. Alright, let's go outside. Alright, so our fuel tank pressure still sits at that 0.22. Let's see if we hear a whoosh. I didn't hear a whoosh. And our tank pressure did not change. Fancy. Well, we know the tank's not really full of pressure as indicated. So, chances are we just have a faulty fuel tank pressure sensor. Awesome. What we'll do, I just want to make sure that we hear the canister vent. Make sure we hear it clicking on and off. Now we don't need any data. I think this one is the one. Well, let's just turn it on. Okay, everybody be quiet. Let's see if we can hear this thing. Alright, we hear the old girl clicking, so that's good. It means our circuitry is good up to it. Boring video. If you own a shop and you can't figure out a GM EVAP system, you might want to get some training. It's probably the best advice I can give you. Wells DE on YouTube. So Mike there over at Wells has probably some of the best EVAP videos on the market, in my opinion. I'll put a link in the description. I'll pop it up here on the screen. If you want a really good EVAP series, go watch him. Learn how these work. These are, these purge and seal systems are the most basic systems you can work on. The simplest system on the market. If you can't figure these ones out, you don't have a prayer on a Toyota or a Honda or natural vacuum leak detection or leak detection pumps. Learn how to work on these EVAP systems. So that would be the advice I give. Not going to run the other shop in the ground. We all have our faults. I have my own. Apparently, wherever this was, they have their own. So we'll leave it at that. What we have to do now, I'm not even concerned with the purge at this point. Obviously, we have to fix whatever is wrong with the fuel tank pressure sensor, whether it be a sensor, who knows, it could even be new, I don't know. I'm surprised it's not at 0 volts or 5 volts, so you unplug them, they go to 5 volts. It's a simple test we're going to do. We'll put it up in the air. I'm going to see, being that it is almost out of gas, it might be to our advantage if we have to let the tank down. A lot of times you can get these, the classic reach around, and you can get to the connector, unplug it, make sure it goes to 5 volts, and then that's pretty much it. And then we can take a test light, hook it to ground, touch the signal wire, make sure it goes to 0, make sure we got 5 volts, ground, all that business. So simple 3-wire circuit, that's what we're gonna do. So we got the truck up on the lift. I won't be sticking my head up in there. There ain't enough room for the both of us. So I'll get up in there. It looks like it's got some new filler neck rubber hose action on it there, perhaps. I'm going to give it the classic reach around, see if I can't reach the sensor before we, if we have to pull the tank, and see if I can unplug it. I'll get you guys set up here on some data, and what we'll do is we'll just look at fuel tank pressure, sensor voltage, and pressure. And I'll unplug it. We should see this go right to 5 volts. Okie dokie, let me see if I can't get my beak up in there. Let's see. Oh, she's staring me right in the face. Look at that. Oh, that's my shoulder. I think that's the sensor. It is unplugged. And what happened? Went to 0 volts. Sorry, I was thinking about it. Well, wrong. Okay, so let me, I said that wrong. Went to 0 volts, not 5 volts. My mistake. I apologize. So what we'll do, I can get that connector out far enough where we can run our tests on it. We'll jumper the 5 volt reference to the signal wire, and then we'll also, check the ground. So we'll pull up in a wiring diagram. We got a black, green. Oh man, I haven't renewed my subscription yet. I don't think I can look at wiring diagrams on my subscription. Nope. We'll go an alternative route here. How do I get on the internet? Let's see, there's some internet. We got a black, green, and gray wire. Should be pretty easy to figure out, but so we don't make any mistakes, we'll just look it up, do some testing. I'll put in the vehicle info here, where we're at 04 Chevy, right? I won't bore you with all this. Well, for some reason this is being ridiculous. Whatever, I ain't got time to piss around with it. So we're moving on. We'll take and see if it'll, sometimes this thing just pisses me off. Let's see here, let's see if she's working now. Give her one more chance. So this app usually doesn't like Android based stuff. Or not this app, this website, like Identifix and Mitchell, they really don't like Android stuff, so it's not loading. Some days it works, some days it doesn't, I don't know. Whatever, we'll just go like this. Where were we? I don't know, crap biscuit. No, I don't want to be here. Story of my life. Come on. Let's see. Where are we? Let her catch up. Alright, so we're going to go back to data stream. Oh, I should just grab it. I got a Chromebook that I usually use to look stuff up instead of using scan tools because it really bogs them down. So we'll pull that up. And what we'll do to get our wires, I don't know why I never use this feature on here. I always just use this for my voltmeter. We can go up to vehicle. This should tell us. I assume it's V6, it really doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't have it on here. Oh, EVAP system, there we go. There we go, fuel tank pressure, there we go. Jeez, that's all I wanted. Give me a connector. Okay, there we go. So A is ground. Freaking thing doesn't give us colors, whatever. Middle, so they should be labeled for me, A, B, and C. I assume C is going to be black. So what we're going to do, sorry to draw this out too far, we've already taken way too long. Just going to check the power on the ground, and then what we're going to do, if we have 5 volts and we have our ground, so A and C, then what we're going to do is jumper C and B together, and on our scan tool we should watch it go up to 5 volts. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so here's our voltmeter. I've jumped ground to ground, A and C. So we do have our 5 volts. Now what I'm gonna do, let's get we'll swap this that way. So we know we have 5 volts, we know we have a ground. Now all we have to do is verify that our signal return wire, or our signal wire, is good. So what we'll do is we'll get our fuel tank pressure pulled up here. Let's see, fuel tank pressure voltage is what we want. View only selected. We'll blow her up big on the screen here. Jumbo! And then what I'll do is I just use a little pair of needle nose, and I'll just go and touch those 2 pins. I'll touch the 5 volt reference, I'll touch the signal wire. That should shoot to 5 volts. So let me get up under here. So the black wire is your ground, the gray wire is the 5 volts. So I unplugged our meter. So I'm going to jump her gray to green. I'll get my hands up in here. Needle nose pliers is across them, so there is our 5 volts to our signal wire. So we know circuit integrity is perfect. Long roundabout way to get to the answer, but usually I don't look up wire diagrams because we typically don't need them, especially for something like this. But I wanted to show you folks, and it backfired on me because it's being ridiculous. But that's that. So it needs a fuel tank pressure sensor to start with. Fuel tank pressure sensor should be here momentarily. I did order it back when we started the first part of this video a little bit ago, because I was certain that's what we were going to need. So I ordered it on a guess. Hey, if the other shop can guess, why can't I? So what I'll do is I'm going to swap that out. Now on this, I have enough room to get up in there. It's kind of tight. I wish I could record it, but I can't, because you got to get both hands up in there, and then I use a 90-degree pick, a heavier pick, and I'll spray a little bit of lube up around the tank pressure sensor, blow it off with a blow nozzle, because all the dirt and crap sits on top of the tank. So blow it off, spray a little lube on it, and then very gingerly work that fuel tank pressure sensor up out of the fuel pump module. And then if for some reason the little nipple on it snaps off, you got 2 options. You can either push it down in, let it float in the tank for the rest of its life. It's big, it won't get sucked up the fuel pump, so don't worry. Or you can take like a drywall screw and screw very carefully down into the plastic, and then use a pair of needle nose pliers and pick the broken piece out. So that's what I'm going to do. Hopefully it doesn't break, and we'll be good. Thing with being a son of a monkey, so I had to get up in there with my pliers. Naturally snapped it off, because that always happens. And this is a little trick, I tell you. So just you know, a wood screw of sorts, and you just screw them in my finger. You don't, because there's not a lot of room between this and the bottom of the floor or the bottom of the bed. So I just reach up, like I say, you can just stick it in just as tight as you can get it by hand. And usually I size up my screw by just looking at the sensor, finding one that fits there tight. Something real coarse, real aggressive. Usually like sheet metal screws don't usually grab too good, but these wood screws, you can get in there, tighten her up, and then you can work it good by hand. You're like, work it, girl, like that. Or if you use a pair of bent nose pliers, you can get up on it like this, and then this will hit the top of the fuel pump, and then you give her a little bit of that. Of course, these hit the floor, but it does work it up a little bit. Whew. Anywho, the new one's here, but it's not in the box. I must have took it out somewhere. Put it in my sweatshirt pocket, and I took my sweatshirt off. So there's the new one. Get it OEM, don't mess with the aftermarket, they're garbage. And you'll see right on it, it says 5 volt reference and ground. So it tells you which wire is which. I'll give it a little toot of lube, fluid film or something, get it lined up, push it down in, make sure they go in all the way. They can be a little bit of a pisser. Get it in, plug it, we're good. We're out of here. Give you an idea, see if I can do this. So that's where the little guy lives. Oh, you guys can see just fine. So it's the connector on the right. That's the fuel pump. And you can do it without dropping the tank. Probably be a huge pain laying on your back trying to get up in here. Couple options: lower the tank, lift up the bed. I just started the truck up. had the key on too long, so this thing actually has the original battery in it. Can you believe that? Was it 2004? Okay, so our fuel tank pressure sensor is at 1.4 volts. So what we're gonna do now, and this is one thing, so now that this is repaired, the EVAP system can actually go through its own test, or it'll run the EVAP monitor. So now we have the potential for setting other codes, you know, for leaks and everything else like that. So this is something you have to, you know, if you're going to give it back to your customer, let me roll this window up, you know, they have to be aware that, you know, potentially now you could have other problems arise even though you fixed, you know, the engine light. I like my little quote thing I did. You know, that's all they know. All they know is that light's on, it's got an EVAP problem. But the fact of the matter is it couldn't run any more of the EVAP test because they couldn't monitor anything. Fuel tank pressure, there we go. Now we'll go back to where we started. So what we're going to do is we're going to seal the system. So right now it should be, oh, we don't want fuel level sensor. Well, we'll just keep our fuel tank pressure there. Let's see. For some reason this sucker was pretty slow, but now it's not. So it's not venting. So now we're going to pull a vacuum on the tank and we'll watch our fuel tank pressure should start to drop. So we'll bump her up to 40%. We'll let her pull a little bit of a vacuum here. And then we'll seal it off and see how fast it decays. Alright, we'll stop it right there. So we'll seal it. So right now our purge solenoid is turned off, our vent solenoid is sealed the system, and then our tank pressure is going to monitor the amount of decay. Now, how fast, what? Well, that's just enough to piss you off. I was going to say, how fast it decays, there's a lot of variables. Size of the tank, you know, the temperature of the fuel, the fuel volatility. We don't want that. Try this again. I'm sure it opened the vent. Yeah, it did. So we're back to atmospheric pressure, the 1.4 volts. So I just heard the canister vent close. Let this catch up here. Sometimes this tool's a little bit sluggish. So it's not venting right now, but we're not purging either, and you can see a rapid build, well, not a rapid build, but a build in pressure. So that's a good sign. I don't know what's going on with my tool here. Let's see. Increase. Oh, it's because I didn't hit it. So now we're going to watch our pressure drop. So I guess before we get too far and get it carried away, that is a test that sometimes I'll do, just kind of driver's seat quick test. If the fuel in the tank is warm and it's highly volatile, if you close just the vent solenoid, if there's no leaks, you're going to start building pressure. So just a little tidbit of a trick for you. So now we're just going to draw a vacuum on a tank. We'll watch it decay. We'll just leave it right there. We don't have to pull it into a deep vacuum. We can obviously see our fuel tank pressure sensor works. So we'll seal it off. Come on, baby, don't stall on me. So no purge solenoid, vent's closed. It's got a vacuum in the tank. Naturally, it's going to decay because of fuel volatility. Especially on a return type fuel system, it's always returning all that hot fuel back to the tank. You can do some experimenting on some of these vehicles to see what a normal rate of decay is. Experiment with, like, you know, a 40 thousandths leak just to see. You know, what I've learned in my experience, if you have, you know, a 40 thousandths leak, you know, your tank pressure is going to change very rapidly. One thing I hate about this scan tool is its auto ranging graphs it does here. It drives me bananas, because if you're just looking at this at a glance, it'll look like a really rapid change, but all it's doing is changing the min and max values, which is super annoying. Which I wish it didn't do. I wish it just kept them. So, anyhow, we're almost back to atmospheric pressure. Getting there. Alright, well, I'm going to leave it at that. Alright, so I did check, it did go back to atmospheric pressure, which we already knew. Of course, you know, we set these fuel tank pressure sensor high and low voltage by unplugging it and then by shorting it to the 5-volt reference. So what we need to do now is we're just going to take and clear the codes. That'll go through and clear them and reread them. Now there's no sense in trying to run a drive cycle because it is out of fuel. It was nice of the customer to leave it empty for us in this case. In case we did have to drop that tank down. And we've already had the truck running, so even if I went and put fuel in it, we could not run a monitor until, you know, the vehicle sat overnight and did a cold soak. There we are, codes are cleared. Time will tell. I don't believe we have a leak, in my opinion. I'll show you another little trick. Should leave just the key on. Hopefully I let it run long enough to charge its battery. Oops. So what we'll do, we'll just pop into special tests here. We'll go into the vent solenoid. Now with the truck not running and the fuel hot, technically, let's see, we want pressure sensor, and then that EVAP vent command, we'll hit apply. Now it should be at atmospheric pressure. We're pretty close. Now we're going to close the vent. I just heard it snap shut. So if we leave it sitting here, purge solenoid closed, vent solenoid closed in the back, it should start to build some pressure, depending on how hot the fuel is. Give it some time. And this is looks like it's actually starting to build a vacuum. I'll give it some time here, see what happens. Yeah, so perhaps it's actually cooling down and starting to pull a vacuum. In either case, we wouldn't have any, you know, any type of change if we didn't have a sealed system. Like I said, I've seen this before when, you know, the fuel's really hot. You know, we do the same thing. We close off the vent solenoid, and it actually starts building, you know, rapid pressure in the tank. So now we'll turn it off, and we should go back to atmospheric pressure. We're pretty close to it anyways. Yep, and you see the change there. So just something handy you can do. Kind of sits, you know, similar to a natural vacuum leak detection. Alright guys, well that's it. We'll leave it at that. Hopefully you understood it. Kind of drug out a EVAP video. But we see a lot of them, so hopefully it helps you. Hopefully it helps the other guy if he happens to watch this, so he knows what he's doing next time. And like I say, check out Wells, Wells Vehicle Electronics. Mike Becker there, a friend of mine, does great videos, did a great job on the EVAP series there. So be sure to check them out. Check us out on our socials, also on Patreon, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done that. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.